I gave you my heart.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's your girl Anita Cherie. So welcome back to my channel. So as you guys can see, I'm in a different angle. I'm doing it a little different for today's video. So if you guys do not remember, on Thanksgiving I made homemade Salisbury steak and it turned out amazing. So what I decided to do today was to record myself preparing it for my family. So in today's menu, we're going to have homemade Salisbury steak, roasted cabbage, corn, and dinner rolls. The reason why I decided to go ahead and do the roasted cabbage instead of green beans or peas or something like that was because I had a cabbage in the refrigerator that I needed to cook. So we're going to go ahead and have roasted cabbage with the homemade Salisbury patties. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to prepare that. First, I'm going to share with you guys everything you're going to need to prepare the meal. That way you can go ahead and have all your stuff pre-prepped, pre-ready to go, and hopefully we won't have to do too many stops in between because I forgot to grab something here and I forgot to grab something there. But for the most part, I have everything laid out on the counter. So I'm going to share with you guys everything you are going to need, or that I prefer to use, that I like to use when I'm preparing this. And you guys can do the same. So I'm going to show, so first you guys are going to need cut up cabbage, which I already washed and cut up. I have my potatoes washed and cut up as well. You're going to need unsalted beef stock, or you can use salted. I prefer to use unsalted. I have my can of corn that I'm going to use. You're going to need one red pepper, green pepper, and an onion. And I have garlic here. I use garlic in a jar because it's much easier for me to use that versus cutting it up. So I'm just going to use the garlic in the jar. You're going to need breadcrumbs, flour, whatever seasonings that you like. These are all the seasonings that I choose to use. It's at your discretion once again. If you may see that I have a lot of sauce here, but I do portion my sauce out when I'm preparing meals because I like to use different things for different flavors. You're gonna need ground beef, smoked sausage, and you guys see my Kerrygold butter back there. And I might have forgot to mention Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce. I never can pronounce that right. But those are all the items that you're going to need to prepare these meals today. If you do not have some of these ingredients, that's okay. You do not have to have everything that I have. This is just what I use, and this is what I prefer. You can use anything that you choose to, but this is what I have, so this is what I shared. So if you guys are interested in how I'm going to prepare today's meal, then stay tuned. So first and foremost, I'm going to put my potatoes on so they can begin boiling and we can get that out the way. So now that you guys saw that I did put the potatoes on the stove, I did add a little salt to it so they can boil with the salt. I'm going to prepare the cabbage. So let's get started on that. What you're going to need is a roasting pan. I have my good old handy dandy small little roaster pan that I actually inherited from my mom. She gave this to me when I first moved out on my own when I was 18 years old, and I had this pan ever since. Some Tony Chacharron, however you pronounce that. I'm going to sprinkle some on here. I'm going to use, oh, that seasoning strong. I'm going to use a little bit of this. Add some garlic powder. I'm going to add some onion powder. Take just a tiny bit of black pepper because for some reason when I roast cabbage in the oven, the black pepper tends to be really, really strong and it makes it spicy. So I'm just going to use just a little bit of black pepper. I'm going to add a little bit of Lawry seasoning salt. You don't need to add water to it because it's going to make its own water. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set that to the side for a minute. So now I'm going to take my smoked sausage and I'm going to chop it up and put it into the cabbage. Use half of the sausage. I'm not going to use the whole thing, so I'm going to cut it in half right here and then set the other half to the side, put it up, and I'm going to cut this right down the middle. They don't have to be cut perfectly. It's going to get roasted, and then I'm going to chop it into half. Now I'm going to just put this in here. And I'm going to add half of an onion. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to take half of this green pepper. So I'm just going to cut these up into half strips and put it in the cabbage just like this. So this is the fun part. If you have a bigger rotisserie pan, by all means you can use it, but I don't use a bigger one because once you guys see this come out the oven, you're gonna be like, dang, this is full when I put it in. When I take it out, you're gonna see that it cooked down. So I'm not worrying about it being overflowing. I'm going to keep it like that, but I'm going to add some garlic. And it's crushed garlic, so you won't see like pieces of garlic in it because it's going to be crushed. And I'm going to mix this up and I'm going to pop it in the oven. Oh, first and foremost, I forgot to mention, I add a little paprika to here. And I'm going to add a little bit of this chicken bouillon flavor stuff. And it's the powder kind. I don't have much in here, as you guys can see. I use a lot. And I'm going to sprinkle just a little. I'm going to place the top on here, and I'm going to place this into the oven on 350 and let it. So now, you guys, let's get on to the main portion of the meal. You're going to need 2 packs of ground beef. You can use 1. I'm going to use 2. I'm going to take my packs of ground beef, and I'm going to open them, and I'm going to take a bowl. And I'm going to place it into the bowl. And now I'm going to add my seasonings of choice. In this case, I'm going to use garlic powder, the Morton's natural seasoning, a little bit of this all-purpose Greek seasoning, a little black pepper, paprika, and a little bit of parsley flakes. So I'm going to mix that all up until I have it well blended. You can use as much seasoning as you want. You can use less seasoning, but I'm a seasoned type person, and I season by smell and look, because I'm not about to eat no raw meat, so I can't taste it. So I need a little more seasoning, so I'm going to add my Tony seasoning that I didn't put in there before, and my Laura's seasoning salt. I know you guys, oh, a lot of salt. Trust me, it's not going to be salty. Not at all. And black pepper. And I'm going to set that to the side because I'm going to take the other half of that other green pepper and the half of that onion. And I'm going to chop it up and add it to the meat. Pepper and actually I'm going to add red pepper and green pepper. But the peppers that I'm going to put in here, I'm actually going to cut them up as fine as I can. They don't have to be super fine, but you don't want them chunky, super chunky either. So I'm going to cut them up in like bitty pieces. Add a little garlic. Woo! My eyes burning. I'm over here dying, y'all. Woo! Y'all, my eyes burn so bad from the onions. Y'all see me crying? I am crying. Literally crying. Okay, y'all. Woo! So, I have my green peppers, onions, garlic, and my seasonings in here. My eyes was burning. I had to go get it together because y'all saw me crying. But anyways, I'm going to finish prepping. So I have all this in here. I'm going to add some Worcestershire sauce. I do not know how to pronounce this, so the hell with it. Worcestershire sauce, but I'm going to add some of this. And then I'm going to mix all my raw veggies in until I have it well blended. Have that blended in. I'm going to take 1 egg. I have 2 just in case, but I think I might only need 1. Mix that up. You could beat the egg first if you want to, but I didn't. So I'm just blending this in until I have the egg all blended into the meat. The reason why I use the egg, an egg is acts as a bonding agent. So I use the egg to hold my meat together, but I also am going to add breadcrumbs and a little flour. You don't have to use the flour. You can just use breadcrumbs, or you can just use flour or crackers. But I like to use both because for some reason I feel like it gives me the consistency that I want. But I don't use as much flour. I only use just a little bit of flour because for some reason it's just something about the flour that does it for me. So I'm just going to use a little bit of the flour. And I'm going to blend that all together. And then it's going to start forming into like, kind of like, I don't know what to say. It's just going to, almost like if you make meatloaf, you pretty much do the same process as if you're doing meatloaf. Depending on how well your meat is molded, you might have to add more breadcrumbs. So you just add more as you need. I don't have measurements. So I don't really measure things. I play everything by eye. And in this case, I feel like I have more than enough breadcrumbs. So my meat is like formed and it's like pretty much holding up really, really well. And that's what you want. You want your meat to have like some type of consistency to where when you start forming it, it won't break apart. So that's pretty much what you need to make sure your meat is bonded together well. So now I'm going to form these into small patties. I don't know how many patties it's gonna make, but we're about to find out. So I just make it into a ball and then I pat it out into a patty. Guys, it's time for me to cook up the patties. So I'm going to put a little cooking oil in the skillet. You can use olive oil or cooking oil. The reason why I'm choosing to use cooking oil because cooking oil doesn't burn as fast as olive oil. Olive oil will burn relatively quick. So I would prefer using vegetable oil because it doesn't burn as fast or cook as fast. Olive oil cooks fast and it burns fast. So now that I have all my patties patted out into patties, I'm going to let that heat up and I'm going to add them to the skillet. I might not be able to get them all in there the first round, but I'm going to still cook them all. But if I don't get them all in the first round, I just have to make 2 batches. But they will all go in the skillet after it's done when you make the gravy. It got hot. So the grease isn't hot yet. As y'all see, I threw that onion in there. The grease ain't hot, so you want to let the grease get hot. See the onion cooking? So now I'm going to go ahead and place these in the grease. Like so. See, I was only able to get about 5 of them in there. And then I'll cook those other 5 once I finish cooking those. So I'm going to let those cook like that. So let them cook, and then I'm going to flip them in about 3 minutes. So now that I have cooked this for about 3 minutes, I'm going to flip them over and let them cook on the other side. But as I flip them over, I'm going to flatten them out. Okay, now that I am done cooking the meat, you guys see that I still have like a little bit of onion remnants left from the stuff falling off the meat. That is a-okay, because that's the good part. I did wipe it out a little bit so it wouldn't get all the little, sometimes when you're cooking the meat, it can get like the little crust at the bottom. You want some of it, but not really all of it, because you're gonna make fresh gravy anyways. Most of it is kind of burnt, so you don't really want that because you don't want your gravy to taste burnt. But when you're making fried chicken, it cooks differently. But for some reason, when you cook this, it burns a little more. But anyways, I'm going to take some butter. You're gonna need it about equal parts. So I'm gonna take about a 1/4 tablespoon or teaspoon of butter. And equal parts of flour. So I'm going to melt this down. So you're going to turn the stove back on. I'm going to melt this down. Flour, a 1/4 cup of flour. So the same amount of butter, however much butter you use is however much flour you're going to use. But remember that little piece of onion that I have left, I'm going to take that and also add it. And I'm leaving this big because you don't really want to have a bunch of little tiny pieces of onions in your gravy mix. So I'm melting that down. So now that that's melted, I'm going to take my flour and I'm going to sprinkle that in. I'm going to sprinkle this in, but I'm going to turn it down. I'm going to sprinkle it in, and I'm going to actually kind of fry the flour first to brown it. So that's about all I need, but I'm going to fry the flour a little bit. I'm going to actually let it brown before I add my beef stock. See, it still look kind of yellow. That's fine. Or gold. That's also fine. I want it to be a little more browner than this. But I'm going to keep doing this until I get it to the brown color that I like. And I'm going to keep doing this so it won't burn or stick. But the longer you cook the flour, the darker it gets. So this is kind of pretty much called making a roux. So now you guys see that my flour has browned. I'm going to add my unsalted beef stock, and you can use a whisk and whisk it in so it's brown, which is how you want it to be. The darker it is, the darker your gravy will be. So now I'm going to add my beef stock, and I'm going to whisk it. I'm gonna whisk it in. Now, because I am using unsalted stock, I am going to add a little flavor back to my gravy. Some people use dried mushrooms where they they blend them up and it makes a powder. I don't have that, so I'm just going to add my regular old seasonings. For flavor. Add some black pepper. And I'm going to let that simmer. So I'm going to let that simmer for a minute, and then I'm going to add the meat. You're probably like, oh, it's soupy. Trust me, it's going to thicken up. It's going to thicken up. And now you guys can see how the gravy is cooking and it's getting thick. I'm going to add my my meat to it that I fried or that I cooked, and I'm going to put it into the gravy like so. Ooh, hot. So now I'm going to put the top on. I'm going to let that simmer, and then I'm going to spoon it. But I gotta let it simmer on low for about 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna come back and check it and flip it again and probably let it cook for another 5 minutes, and then I'll be back to show you guys what it looks like. So now that I let it simmer for about 5 minutes, I'm coming over to make sure I get all the meat smothered into the gravy. As you can see, the gravy has thickened and the meat is getting coated. It's got that nice nice brown, flavorful, thick, hearty gravy, which is what we want, if you guys can see. And it's all made from scratch, except for the stock, if some of y'all don't count that as scratch, but it's still homemade to me, even if I use stock that wasn't homemade. So now that I got this going and I got all the meat coated, I'm going to cover it back up and let it cook for about let it simmer on really slow for another 5 to 10 minutes, and it should be done after that. And you guys, here is the final product. It is delicious. It smells delicious. It has flavor. Yes, I did, because you know when you get it on your fingers, you tend to lick. But this is the finished product. It was a very, 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 very yummy. It's easy. The prep time is what takes the most, but this is what it looks like when I'm done cooking it. And after I plate it, the plating ain't all that, but you know what? It don't matter because it's gonna go down my throat to my stomach. So it does not matter how I plated it. But this is what it looks like. And there you guys have it, my homemade Salisbury steak, roasted cabbage, corn, and dinner rolls. Or you can call it, I hear some people call it hamburger patties with gravy. It's however you prefer it, however you want to call it. This is the final product. This is how it turned out. It smells absolutely amazing, and it tastes just how it smells. So if you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, remember I said the thumbs up? Yeah, that means like. Anyways, but if you guys enjoy the video, go ahead and just, like and hit that sub button. Oh, and turn on the notification bell. That way you will not miss another upload from me. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and until the next one, I will talk to you guys later.